now we look at the third part in the development process, POC to commercial stage. How can we shorten the time to market? At the previous two stages, we were asking different questions. How can we get quickly to first in human? How can we get quickly to patient trials? When we now see the compounds looking promising, we want to know its commercialization, particularly for those molecules on an accelerated pathway. That thought process starts in phase 2, even phase 1. So the time from development to commercialization is really short. What are the key milestones in the late stage development? They can be classed in two types. If it's drug product related, we have to think about if the dosage form we used in phase 1 and 2, is it patient friendly? You would think for a molecule on the accelerated pathway that we would develop robust phase 2 formulations so we can seamlessly scale up from lab to commercial scale. Once we achieve the POC, we want to start thinking about whether it's commercializable. We want to make the product reproducibly and build quality, ensure we have thorough risk assessments to identify potential CMC issues as well. On an accelerated pathway, many companies may need to use the clinical process to produce supplies for clinical study and potentially for the product launch, whilst at the same time introducing a more efficient manufacturing process to supply patients more reliably. Supply chain issues and approvals all must be juggled, which creates significant resource and logistical burdens. So other regulatory requirements we also need to think about are completion of the clinical pharmacology packages and identifying dosage forms of pediatric populations. If we consider the accelerated pathway and risks and how that may pertain to pediatrics, as we mentioned, 70% of genetic rare diseases start in childhood. And there's been clear regulatory guidance for more than a decade in terms of the need to develop acceptable, palatable, age-appropriate medicines for children, and to encourage that earlier assessments in a pediatric population. I think things like including a pediatric cohort in an existing adult trial, which allows the inclusion of a specific population in earlier development of a targeted drug without having to open an entirely new pediatric trial. Embedding pediatric trials within an existing trial in adults, that might be particularly useful for the evaluation of drugs with a molecular target that's rare in the pediatric population. And when the molecular target is relevant to cancers in both adults and adolescent patients, sponsors might consider including adolescent patients by lowering the age requirements for enrollment as well. Simply put, these trends really point to the need for the development of age-appropriate formulations at an earlier stage of the orphan drug development cycle and the rare development cycle as well. So this is a high-level stage map for the traditional drug development pathway. As we get ready to lock the formulation, both the composition and process, we need to understand the factors that impact the performance of the dosage form. And this is the stage where we want to make good quality products with robust manufacturing process. And we want to lock formulations in terms of its properties and characterize the stability. We need to understand the process, associated CPPs, CQAs, start getting ready for registration. This is the traditional pre-approval commercial roadmap. Once the drug has demonstrated proof of concept, we can support customers as they plan for commercialization, beginning with registration batches, and then optimize the process. And once we get to the point of commercial manufacture, the team ensures product robustness and continuous process verification. That's all well and good for traditional pathways, but let's now consider how that pertains to drugs on an expedited approval pathway in comparison.